It was not just emotional cheating she had done, it was full-on physical. It was everything. I went blank. I didn't know how to process this. At some point, I asked if it was just one man, and she confessed it was not, it was two men. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go over a story titled, I Just Found Reconciled Emotional Affair Was Physical. And guys, this story is all about a guy. He's married to his wife for 11 years. He's a very religious man. He takes his religious faith very seriously. Unfortunately, this guy married the devil, or at least the daughter of the devil, or the she-devil, whatever you want to call it. You're going to see this story, guys. He finds out that his wife has a history of absolute deception. Deception, lying, cheating, the whole 9 yards. And this is all going to go into how 5 years before this present day of the story, he discovered she was having what he thought was an emotional affair. Then he dealt with it, caught her, the whole 9 yards. She put on all the BS. They went through the whole counseling and all that. He decided to forgive her because that was what his religion told him to do. Wasn't going to divorce her because, again, it goes against the religion. And they moved on. And you're going to see years later, he discovers, guess what? No, it wasn't just an emotional affair, which is bad enough. Full blown on, she's hooking up with multiple dudes. Yeah, he has to question whether his kids are his, whether he got STD, all this stuff. And ultimately, he's been on the fence on what to do. And you're going to see his religion really plays a major factor in here. Now, I'm going to say this. I know I got a lot of conservative guys that watch me, and girls. And I know a lot of you guys, I can tell from the comments, are men and women of faith. Your religious faith is important to you, and I respect that. I respect everybody's religious faith so long as they're not trying to push it on other people or it harms them or others in an emotional, physical, psychological way. But what it does, when it keeps a guy, man or woman for that matter, in a bad situation because they feel like if they, for instance, say divorce someone that was awful to them and they stay in it only because of religion, well, I feel that's wrong because that is causing them harm. Or they use the rules or guidelines, if you will, of the religion, like forgiveness, to keep allowing somebody to keep doing awful things to you. Again, I have a problem with that. Not the faith, but certain things if it's causing you problems. And this guy here, you're going to see that keeps him in a bad situation, which I think is a mistake. And I think any of you guys who watch this to do relationships need to be aware it's not always the best thing to allow something essentially, let's be honest here, someone else's idea on how to live, how to be, all that, no offense, to cause you to be in a situation that causes you a lot of pain. And if you're in that situation and that faith causes you to be in a position like that, you gotta start questioning some things. I know I'm going to get some heat about that, but you're going to see here why it causes a problem. But anyhow, we'll see about that in the comment section. So, starts off, he says, Hi. I made a comment in some post about this already, but I need some heavy advice. I'm attempting reconciliation at this point, but I want to make sure that I'm thinking of every question and detail that needs to be discovered. There's a lot of history in this situation, and I will try to keep it short, but it's still going to be a wall of text, so my apologies. Well, this is a long story, but a lot we can learn from it. He says, on the Saturday the 3rd, my wife of 11 years revealed that she had a physical relationship 5 years ago. This, of course, devastated me, but went even further because 5 years ago, I caught her acting inappropriately, confronted her, and came out stronger for it. So you thought, my friend. Seeing this isn't a typical affair situation, where I find out and have no record of her being faithful, I'm a bit confused in how to go about and do this. Allow me to provide all the background. 5 years ago, I found strange search inquiries on my wife's laptop. She wasn't home that day, and I investigated further. I don't remember all what I found, but in the end, I found an online dating profile, emails to a coworker, several nudes that were sent to him, and she texted him 3 times as much as me. Then she searched about STDs and dabbed in PORN. Well, aside from dabbling in the PORN, these are problems. Big ones. Keep in mind, we were both Christians at the time. After a few days of investigating and contacting lawyers, I decided to confront her. I don't remember all the details, but I questioned her on every piece of evidence that I found. At every point, she denied any wrongdoing and denied there was anything more damning. Shocker. Is it lying sin? Each time I revealed some proof of the next damning thing, amount of text, hiding a relationship, emails, dating profiles, nudes, Google history, etc. She never volunteered anything I hadn't already revealed. We fought hard. She cried, shocker, claimed guilt, apologized, then went pressed about an STD search. She revealed that 5 years ago, previous to that, when I was deployed, she was raped at a party and was worried that she had caught one. When he was deployed, huh? There's a stereotype. I thank this guy for his service and respect that, but you know how many times I've done stories about the guys who are deployed and their wives were, well, you all know, you've heard the recent 7-part series I did about those Special Forces guys, amongst the other stories I do on this channel and the others. These poor bastards. I know what you're thinking. Why is she Googling that 5 years later? I wish I had realized the gap. Perhaps I was so shocked that my virgin wife was not actually a virgin on our wedding day. Get in line, brother. There's a lot of dudes out there that think the same thing. Perhaps I didn't want to piece it together. Either way, I kicked her out for the weekend. I did a lot of soul searching, and at the end of the weekend, we got back together to talk. I revealed that I've been watching PORN for 17 years. Dude, you're a married man. Get in line. How many married dudes do the same thing? As a Christian, we believe that lusting with your eyes is adultery. We fought about that, but in the end, we decided to at least attempt marriage counseling before we called it quits. Neither of us expected it to work, but it did. But to our wonder, it did. We came out stronger. So you thought. Now I have a question for the Christians out there. Now, I was raised in a Lutheran household. I was smothered. I repeat, smothered in religion in JC from age, technically speaking, 5 years old to 15. Sunday school, church, Bible school, Bible camp, all sorts of stuff, right? I went to a Lutheran school from age 5 to 9 years old. And I don't ever heard anything about lusting with your eyes or the whole not allowed to look at PORN thing. Now, I'm sure there's many different aspects and different types of branches of Christianity, but I'm curious about that. So anybody in there, let me know about that whole thing. But him looking at PORN compared to her with all this stuff, it's night and day. And I'm sure she'll use that to make him look bad. Shortly after marriage counseling began, she got pregnant with our first child. Very interesting that she got pregnant around the time that he saw a lot of clear evidence that she was cheating. It completely changed our life. It seemed like such a perfect sign that our troubles were behind us, and a new child was a symbol of our new lives together. Since then, we've had 2 more children. Our marriage was as strong as ever. We loved our kids. Life was good. Well, I'm happy he's happy, but as you're going to see, things weren't exactly as rosy as this guy had thought. Part 2, D-Day. And he's saying this D-Day for a good reason. We went to church Saturday night, just 6 days ago. During worship, I could tell something was very different in my wife. I reiterated that I loved her and she was more important to me than the kids. Smack! You're telling me that your wife is more important to you than your own kids? Your own children? You want to talk about the ultimate putting a gal on the pedestal? Good God. What the hell's the matter with you? Your kids are more important than her. They're your blood. Maybe this guy should have been doing more reading in his Bible about a lot of the women in the Bible. You get my point on that one. I said that part. We got home and put the kids down to bed, and I got ready to hang out with my wife. My youngest started crying, and my wife left her room and came up to me. She said, "I can't wait any longer. I need to tell you something." We sat down on the couch, and she revealed that 5 years ago, it was just not an emotional cheating she had done. It was full-on physical. It was everything. I went blank. I didn't know how to process this. At some point, I asked if it was just one man, and she confessed it was not one man, it was 2 men. The affair with one lasted for years. The affair number 2 was over 6 months, but less than a year. This changed everything. I have so many questions going through my head, but I don't know what to ask first. The details kept coming. Number 2 was a married man the wife does not know. She did it with number 2 at work. I asked for the positions. I get them from both guys. Number 1 was the longest affair. It started as friends. Eventually, she was having you-know-what to keep the friendship. She had done more sexually with number one than with me. Another stereotype. The lovers get more freaky action in the bedroom than the husband. You know why? Because she doesn't respect the husband. And now we know, isn't it interesting? They started marriage counseling. Oh, well, she got pregnant. Right around the time that she was still having the physical affairs. Now you're all thinking, uh-oh, is that child that she got pregnant with during marriage counseling his? And which of the daddies could it be? I told you she's the devil. Now listen to how this whole thing plays out. These things she was doing with him, number two approached her at one point and she turned him down. Later she approached him. Number one was emotional, that led to physical, but how does number two get justified? She turned down others. She would delete her emails with number one. She sent them pictures, but refused to do it with me. Yes, that STD. I have it. Came from number one. More and more details. I asked when it stopped. It was during counseling. Well, after we started counseling, she was still effing them. They knew she was pregnant. My oldest is probably not mine. The DNA test is being processed. Oh my God. Now this guy thinks he has an STD all this time. I don't know how he doesn't know all this time, but... And also that his first child isn't his, or may not be his. And this whole time she's been lying. Once a cheater, always a cheater. This is why, in my opinion, you find out your gal's cheating, regardless of your faith, cut ties, move on. Because he stayed in a bad situation with a she-devil, because obviously of his religious faith. And believe me, guys, I'm not, for you religious guys, I'm not knocking you. I really am not. You may take it that way. People tend to be sensitive about that shit. But I'm not. But look what his interpretation, following the rules, has caused him. A lousy marriage with a liar, with a cheater, with a she-devil herself. It's not worth it. And it gets better, guys. Well, it gets worse. I have so many questions, so many emotions. I'm hurt so deeply. I'm in counseling to sort it all out. I don't think I can even make a decision until I know what I'm thinking. I don't know why she cheated. I don't know why she stopped. I don't know why she decided to stay with me. Unfortunately, I can tell this dude why. She got pregnant during the counseling. Didn't know who the father was, probably. Realized the married guy I'm having an affair with, he ain't going to be able to stay with me or provide. The other guys I probably chatter Tyrone, he ain't going to provide, so I'll stay with the guy I know will provide, my current husband. That's why. That's why she stayed. That's the only reason why. He was a good provider. He was stable. That's how it works. He goes on. I feel robbed of justice. She has 5 years of faithfulness. We have 3 children together. The children will be worse off without us together. I have no doubt. I don't know if kids are a valid reason or even a Christian reason to stay together. If I had all the information 5 years ago, I would have left her 100%. So he says. I'd like to think that he would have. But I don't know about that. If we didn't have kids, I'd leave her right now. She deserves a divorce. I feel as a Christian I have to fight for the marriage. But I need miracles to make it work. I can't ever see myself moving past or forgiving her for the betrayal or lies and pain. I don't think I can ever trust her again. I don't know if she'll cheat again. The only reason she stopped is because I kind of caught her. I don't know if she's changed in the last 5 years from the person she was back then. Well, I guarantee you she hasn't cheated because, generally speaking, people don't change. Once a cheater, always a cheater. He says, even in the best light, this was not 5 years of blissful marriage, as I thought. This was 5 years of lies, deception, fakeness, and manipulation. I feel used for my provision and my body. I've been denied consent and the right to make informed decisions for the past 7 years. I don't know how someone who supposedly loves me so much could lie to me so much. Because she's a freaking narcissist, she's a sociopath, she doesn't love you. She only loves herself, if she's even capable of that. And by the way, guys, I'm sure you've noticed or hear the rain here and seeing how the lights get bright and dim. We've been having a storm all day, and I got to get this video filmed. The show must go on, so bear with me here with the rain and wind and all this shit going on around me. It's been a lot of storms going on here today in Massachusetts. Anyway, he says, she gave me an STD instead of admitting to an affair. Locked me into a marriage by making me believe that my son is mine. She claims she has changed. She volunteered this information. She has answered every question as best she could. She appears to be trying to be as truthful as possible. She seems repentant. But I have no idea if there are ulterior motives here. I can't even trust basic human ethics. I can't fathom how someone could be that evil, so selfish, lie so effectively, be such a coward. If she really has been faithful for 5 years, I could work with that. I don't buy it. And I think the vast majority of you guys that are watching this don't buy it either. But I need help. What questions should I ask? What connections am I missing? I want to delve into everything. I want to know the totality of her betrayal to know what I'm being asked to forgive. I need to find out who she is as a person now to know if I can trust her. I don't have any tools to assist in this. She doesn't work anymore. Facebook is clean. Texting is clean. She's busy with 3 kids. I feel like I'm being denied steps vital to healing. There's nothing to monitor. Is there hope for her? I still have got a lot of work to do before we can even begin talking. Thank you for taking the time to read this, and help in any way, please send my way. Here's what I think. End it. Now, I know that's my usual default answer to these things, but I've been around long enough, heard enough of these stories to know it's best to just walk away. Better those kids are in a household where mom and dad love each other and trust each other and they're good people than this. This guy's never going to trust her again. This is going to eat him up. He's never going to, every time she's on the phone, he's going to be thinking she's texting some other dude. He's always going to be watching out, looking over his shoulder, sleeping with one eye open. And even if the kids are his, all of them, which makes you question that, even then, there's the STD factor and all the other things. It's not worth it. You eventually move on, okay? He can forgive her. I'm fine with that. Not a good idea to walk around anger and hate in your heart, because that's just going to poison you and they win. And I'm fine with that whole element. But if that keeps her, if the forgiveness part and the religious faith keeps someone in your life that's causing you misery and pain, it's a bad idea. So I think he needs to cut her loose. Well, we shall see what happens. Now with the final update to this story, and more freaking rain here. I don't know, maybe the big man upstairs doesn't want me to tell this story. I don't know. Maybe he's mad because I was making comments about religion. I don't know. But anyhow, show must go on. He said, I had my STD test and the paternity test for my oldest. Turns out I have a 99.9999998% chance of being the father to my oldest. Well, thank the Lord. This guy deserves something good coming out of all this. I'm very relieved by that and could not stand giving my son a hug for what I thought was the last time of me thinking he was my son. Also, my STD test came back and I am currently STD free. Good, we're 2 for 2 here. I know my wife has HPV, but as long as we don't have you-know-what while she has it, if she has an outburst, I should remain STD free. Yeah, until she cheats and you get it from some other chatter Tyrone that she's hooking up with. As for progress in the relationship, it's now been slow going. I'm still jolting down thoughts and questions. I want to group them together by subject, and then once I do that, I'll start to work through them with my wife. I've handled things pretty well so far, I think, but I imagine I'm going to go crazy as I dig through all this stuff. His mind and his emotions must be in a freaking roller coaster. Mind and emotions in 19 different places at once. This poor guy. Because you can tell this is a good guy. He's just, well, you get the point. My wife has been mostly honest and cooperative since D-Day. Mostly honest? How about 100% honest? However, I found a few inconsistencies that really had me worried. Shocker. She started to use my PORN habit as justification for her actions and has equated her infidelity to mine. She's comparing him watching adult content, which pretty much almost every guy does, especially a married guy, to her hooking up with 2 dudes, which one of them could have been the father, and she got, and maybe giving this guy an STD. That she's comparing that as apples to apples. You gotta be shitting me. I found texts with no reply from her from affair partner number 1. She never told me he had contacted her, and that was one of her rules. The end date of her affairs has been 3 different dates now. So this guy keeps getting a different story from this she-devil. She claims misunderstandings of my question, but I don't believe that. I haven't gotten clear answers on why she began, why it continued, and why it stopped. Those questions will be better asked in joint counseling. I made another connection the other night, though. Shortly after I confronted her 5 years ago, she asked how I found what I found. I explained my process, and given this new information from D-Day, I finally realized that she went into counseling with full intention to continue the affairs and hide it from me. There you go. The whole time they're in the counseling and he's thinking things are getting better, she's still hooking up with not 1 but 2 different dudes while she was pregnant. I mean, come on here. Cut her loose. Even if she's not doing it right now, it doesn't matter. I asked my wife about this, and she confirmed that was the case. She also confirmed the affairs lasted until not a week before my oldest was conceived, and not a few months later, like she said, at a different time, but until October, 8 months after counseling started, and 2 months before my wife gave birth. It changes the dynamic of counseling, and also invalidates her previous statement that the affairs continued because she didn't know how to stop. A BS reason if there ever was one. I'm going to move forward with my plan and continue to take notes and ask her questions, but it feels like I'm going through the motions at this point. Yeah. She's just going to tell this guy what he wants to hear, and she's going to won't admit to anything unless he finds evidence of it, just like before. He says, things I know that are true, though. God did change something in her back on D-Day. I don't know how much or how final the change is. I felt God's love like I never felt it before on D-Day +7. And I can fully believe some of her answers, but they are few. The situation feels hopeless, and if divorce is the end of the result, then so be it. As for confronting number 2, I plan on doing that next week. Should be fun. Well, he's going to confront her lovers. That should be interesting. Well, if he's feeling peace from the Lord, I wish that for him. He certainly deserves that. But I don't want that to cause him to stick in a situation that's going to cause him more pain. Not to mention embarrassment. Now, actually, for the final update here, he says, reconciling from the affair. Now, guys, if you are holding an object like a beer can or a beer bottle while you're listening to this show or watching it, or you're driving in your car or have something in your hand, be careful as what you're about to hear because you might be inclined to throw it. He says, I'll try to keep this short. But in 2018, my wife told me that she had 2 affairs from 2010 to 2013. We've been reconciling for a few years, and we still have some unresolved issues to continue working on. But we made great progress. So he thinks. I got a question, though. Is it right or fair or Christian for me to ask my wife to tell both our families what she did? I don't know if it's right or wrong or Christian, but I think it's certainly warranted. This is a big sticking point to me. She seems embarrassed by her actions and very concerned by how both our families will view her. I don't condemn her for what she was, and I know God doesn't, so it bothers me that she is still concerned how others view her. Because she has to see the family members that she's going to confess what she did to. That's why. I'm not saying what she did was right, but that's why she doesn't want to do it. Plus, she's a narcissist, doesn't want to be seen as doing anything wrong. This goes a bit deeper too, because back in 2013, I disclosed to her how I was looking at porn regularly, and I told both families what I'd done. He told his family and her family, over Thanksgiving dinner, that, oh, by the way, I like to watch adult content from time to time. Probably every man there that's married is probably like, get in line, dude. I feel like it's the right thing to do, and I feel like I'm part of the cover-up with all her lies if this continues to remain in the dark with those closest to us. My goal is not to see her ashamed, ridiculed, or exact justice in some way. I've talked to good Christian men about this, and they don't think it's necessary. But I prayed and think it's right. I'm hoping a broader audience will be able to affirm one of these stances. Thank you. Well, I don't know if the good Christian men he was talking to had experience in this, because this is a pretty awful situation. But I stand by what I say. He obviously is doing the reconciliation thing with her, but in my opinion, like I said before, 5 minutes ago, she's not wife material. You cannot trust her. And he may think, like a lot of guys do, yeah, she's awful, but I don't want the kids to suffer through a divorce and all that, Is it better to be married to a woman that you don't trust, doesn't love you, treats you like shit, all that, embarrasses you, and be miserable, and so the kids can be in the same house? And the kids are going to see this. And the kids are going to think, oh, this is normal. And therefore, those kids will enter in relationships just like that down the road. How do I know? Because I've known families like this. Multiple ones. Okay? It's better you part ways, even if the guy takes the hit, which they usually do. And at least he can heal and be normal. And the kids can see him being normal as opposed to them together being in a miserable situation. And again, I've witnessed this growing up. I had so many friends that had families that were just miserable. And those guys eventually end up marriages just like that. I shit you not. So, again, back to the whole religion thing, and I know I'm going to get shit about this in the comment section, but it must be addressed. I'm glad for people that have their faith, great. If it gives you comfort and peace in life, awesome. But if it causes you pain, if it's rules and the way they do things and views cause you to be stuck in a situation that you're going to be made to feel bad about if you get out of, like a divorce or something like that, one has to question whether this is right for me anymore. Because, and it goes both ways for both men and women. Now, he said earlier if I'd found out that it was physical, I would have divorced her, but I don't buy that. I really don't. And I think he would have fallen on his faith. I said forgive her and give her another chance and all that, but there are some things you can forgive, but you don't forget, and you don't stay in a bad situation. Because sadly, in these stories I do, the gals, they lose respect for you. They're going to keep doing it again and again and again. A guy takes back a girl that cheats and makes a fool of him, she'll lose even more respect and will do it down the road. And it will eat the guy up from the inside out because he'll never trust her again. So it's always best after that horrible thing to part ways. And this wasn't just one cheating incident. She was cheating on him for years with 2 dudes. So anyway, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me think about this. If you're religious folks out there, let me know what you think about this. And I don't mean any offense towards you guys. I'm just stating the obvious. I'm a middle-aged guy. I've lived long enough, experienced enough, so I've formulated these opinions of my own. I'd like to hear what you think about that. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.